Hey, what's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I'm back with another one. Today, we got a great Akem'S analysis for you all today. It's going to be a great episode. I appreciate you guys for tapping into the channel once again. We are now post NFL draft. We are also now post the spring transfer portal window. So at this point, outside of guys who just haven't been signed out of the transfer portal at all, rosters should be close to being finalized. I think obviously in these next couple of months, you see a few more players get signed out of that transfer portal, teams looking to fill some of those holes. But I will tell you about that. If a player is being signed out of the transfer portal this late, it's not that they can't add any value to their team, but they're still in the transfer portal for a reason. So take that with a grain of salt. But we are going to be looking at the Montana offense, defense, special teams, roster, post-transfer portal, trying to see where I could potentially see those starting rosters end up. I do want to look at my top 10 Big Sky players offensively and defensively going into the 2025 season. And then we got some other topics to cover, but those are the two main topics today. So please make sure you guys hit the like button. Please make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Please make sure you guys leave me a comment down below, and we will get straight into it. Okay, we are looking at Montana's potential starting lineup for 2025. First things first, you talk about the quarterback position, and obviously as I talked about the spring game, when I gave my thoughts about the Montana spring game, one thing that I thought stood out to me, one guy that I think stood out to me at the quarterback position was Luke Flowers. Obviously he had a pretty decent day, in my opinion. Now, with that being said, obviously, you don't know if this guy's going against the ones, twos, the threes. You know, if I had to guess what I think the Montana coaching staff would do, I think obviously Kyle Ayat's going to be your day one starter. I mean, he had the most playing experience from last season coming into this season. And then really just looking at the roster of quarterbacks, you got a few young guys. I think you got two freshmen. You got a sophomore, and then you got a redshirt senior in Jake Jensen, and then you got Kali Ayat, who I believe is about to be a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. You got Slider, who's also there. I believe he's the same class as Ayat, so he's going to be a redshirt sophomore. And then you got Luke Flowers, who I believe is going to be a redshirt freshman. And then you got Jake Jensen, also who's a senior, redshirt senior. I really see Kali Ayat being the day one starter. I see Jake Jensen being your backup, but a lot of people voiced their concern with the fact that Montana didn't put all of their eggs in the Ayat basket last year. Obviously, they had Logan Fife here, and a lot of people thought you should have either chosen. You choose Ayat, let him play, let him mess up, and let him learn, or you choose Fife. Fife had been playing. Fife was the better performing quarterback last year. If you're talking about play on the field, Fife played better, and he had a better relationship with the receivers. It seemed, as you watched the games, it seemed like Fife was able to get the ball to him more often. But I think hopefully the Montana coaching staff has come to their senses. They understand that you need to have one continuous starter for the whole season, and if you need to bring in another guy, you can do that. But I think you choose one guy to start for the entire season, and unless he gets hurt, unless his helmet comes off or whatever that looks like, he's your guy. So I think hopefully they're going to do that with Kali Ayat this year. I would love to see how he can play, knowing that he's going to be the starter, giving him that confidence. Now, like I mentioned in the lead up to the video, the transfer portal is closed, therefore meaning players can't still enter the transfer portal, but there are still players in the transfer portal. So if somebody is in there that they think can potentially help the squad, that could be something that happens. But I see Kali Ayat being the starter and Jake Jensen being your backup. At the running back position for Montana, obviously you got Eli Gilman. You know what he brings to the table. Multiple-time all-conference player, Jerry Rice Award winner, Big Sky 2023 Big Sky Freshman of the Year as well. So he is your guy. You got Malai Fanati. You got Stevie Rocker. I really see Fanati being your backup. Based on what I've seen from both guys, I really like Fanati and what he brings to the table. So I see Malai Fanati being the second string. I see Stevie Rocker, Malai Fanati, splitting some of those reps. But then you also got Tommy back there running Rabbit, who's from Browning. He's still a young guy. He's going to be a redshirt freshman this year, so I don't really see him breaking through. I got Eli Gilman, Malai Fanati, and Stevie Rocker being those three guys at that running back position. Then you got the tight end position. So first things first, Evan Schaefer has returned for another season. So he's going to be your guy. But when you talk about receiving tight ends, Evan Schaefer isn't really that guy. Now in the blocking in the run game, Evan Schaefer is your guy. If you're gonna run, if you need a tight end on the field who can block, you bring Evan Schaefer onto the field. He's damn near your an extra tackle on the field. He's a really really good blocker. But in terms of receiving the ball and running routes, that was more so of Eric Barker's game these past couple of seasons, and obviously Cole Grossman, but he didn't play a ton these last 2 seasons. So Evan Schaefer's your guy. You got Josh Gale coming in from UC Davis. Now, looking at his numbers, Josh Gale he wasn't a huge piece of the receiving game at UC Davis. They had Winston Williams, and they also had number 0. I'm blanking on their tight end's name, number 0, but he was a forethought. He was an afterthought at UC Davis. So Josh Gale, I could see him breaking through the roster this year. But then you also have, and I didn't even see this, maybe somebody reported about this or not, but Titus Rohr, a Tennessee transfer, has played most of his career at Tennessee. I can't remember if he's a junior or senior. I think he's going to be a junior this year. I think he's a sophomore, going to be a junior. But him coming from Tennessee, he doesn't have any stats. He didn't record any stats at Tennessee, so he wasn't really playing. But obviously, he's an SEC guy. Somebody saw enough in him. Now, I don't know if he was a walk-on at Tennessee or if he got a scholarship at Tennessee. Should have done a little bit more extensive research on that. But an SEC guy, I think he's somebody who could break through and potentially make something happen. So Evan Schaefer, Josh Gale, Titus Rohr, those are your tight ends. I think Montana, Coulter Nuanez has talked about this as well. I think the tight end position is one of the most solid positions of this Montana offense, as well as the running back position. But you look at the tight end position, you look at every other position on this offense, offensive line, receivers, it's been ravaged. With tight end and running back, you have a certain level of security at that position. So that's what I see at the tight end position. Now, receivers, it gets very, very interesting at the receiver position. Obviously, you know, I'm a former receiver at the University of Montana, and, you know, I always keep an eye on the Montana receiver position. I'm always going to keep an eye on it. Now, when you talk about the Montana receiver position, they have been ravaged. Junior Bergen, drafted to the 49ers. More of a returner, but a really, really good receiver. I mean, he was a really good receiver, but you know Junior for what he did in the return game. But he was stable at that receiver position. He was your F. Aaron Fonts is now gone. Keelan White is now gone. Sawyer Recanelli, who people thought may be returning, is also gone into the transfer portal. So you look at the receiver position, I really see, based on what I've seen, based on what I've heard in conversation, Brooks Davis. Now, I have Brooks Davis down as the X. I have an F and I have a Z. Now, obviously, they could switch these guys around, but I think your main 3 starters, you're looking at Brooks Davis, Michael Wortham, and LaKeldridge Bridges. Now, I could see them starting Drew Deck. He knows the offense. He's been here longer. I think Drew Deck is about to be a senior, redshirt senior. So I could see Drew Deck starting, but I certainly see Michael Wortham having a extended role in the offense. So really, Brooks Davis, Drew Deck, LaKeldridge Bridges. Now, even with LaKeldridge Bridges, I probably would switch him and Cameron Guernsey around because I have LaKeldridge Bridges and Guernsey at the Z position, Cameron Guernsey at the Z position. I could see either one of them starting. Cameron Guernsey, obviously, to me, had the better spring game. He showed up a little bit more to me during that spring game. I think Brooks Davis is going to be in the lineup. I think he's a young guy. I don't think Coach Houck loves playing young guys. I think he will if he has to. And I think in the position that you're in right now at the receiver position, these are really your guys. I mean, you want to put some athletes on the field. You have had to retool up your roster. I'm looking up the roster right now. You have had to retool up your roster at the receiver position, so that is honestly what they're faced with right now. But just looking at the receiver position, I'm scrolling down here to the receiver position. It takes a minute to load, but I'll share my screen here. Just looking at the receiver position at Montana, I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of youth at the receiver position. It seems like there's a ton of youth at the receiver position. So Jordan Dever was on there for me as well. I had Jordan Dever as being the backup to Brooks Davis. He showed up on film he showed up during the spring game as well. So I could see Jordan Dever being a guy that gets in there as well. I think what Coach Houck wants to do is he wants to play it by committee. He wants to have depth. So you want to have your starters, but you also want to have your backups. If I was going to name my top 6 receivers that would play for Montana, I would say Drew Deck, Brooks Davis, Michael Wortham, Jordan Dever. It's so funny that they're all up here at the top. Cameron Guernsey and LaKeldridge Bridges. Those are all the guys that I really see getting the most time. I see the starters being Drew Deck, Brooks Davis, and either Guernsey or LaKeldrick Bridges. I lean towards Guernsey. The reason I say Guernsey is because he's older, and I know Coach Howe tries to shy away from playing younger guys. And on that same vein, instead of Brooks Davis, I really could see Jordan Dever being the starter. Now, with the slot position, I think Michael Wortham brings more to the table than Drew Deck, but Drew Deck has been here longer. He does know the offense, so I could see Drew Deck really being the starter right there. But you look at the rest of the receiver position. Ian Finch obviously has been here. Is he a tight end? Is he a receiver? It seemed like they started playing him at tight end later on in the season, but Ian Finch obviously is a guy who also does know the offense and has been here for a few years. Dayton Toney, Bridger Smith, Jamel Ward. So all young guys. I mean, when you really look at the whole makeup, maybe Dayton Toney. He's a senior. He's a transfer from somewhere. Where's he transferring from? He's coming from Incarnate Word. Is he coming from Hawaii or Incarnate Word? Two of his previous schools. So we'll look down here. So he was at Montana last year and wasn't really able to make it through. He was at Incarnate Word in 2023. So he's been here for a minute, so that doesn't really change anything I've said already. I really see it being those top 6 receivers that I've already named. So, yeah, we'll see. But the receiver position, Jordan Dever, Brooks Davis, Michael Wortham, Drew Deck, LaKeldrick Bridges, Cameron Guernsey. Those top 3, Cameron Guernsey, Wortham or Deck, and Jordan Dever, just because he's the older guy. But I think they're all going to play. I think eventually, about week 5 or week 6, some of those guys will really separate themselves, and you'll get to see who's going to get most of the reps, because in these last few years, obviously they've rotated receivers to a point, but it was really Junior Bergen, Aaron Fonts, Keelan White. Those were your guys, and those were the guys that were going to be in the field most of the time. Now, when you move to the offensive line for the Montana offense, it doesn't get tricky, but obviously, if you've been paying attention to Montana football, this has been a position that has been in flux for some years. I can't remember the last time the offensive line position at Montana was super, super stable. They've never had the best unit in the conference, in my opinion. Maybe in 2023 they had the best unit, but even then, I would say there were some players at Montana State that probably make that unit significantly better than the Montana unit. They've never really had the best unit in the conference. So at left tackle, Cannon Pamphilov, been here for a few years. Dylan Botner also at left tackle, but I think they move Botner around. Dylan Botner, I think they move him right tackle, left tackle. I think he moves around a little bit, so he's got some versatility right there. And that's the thing about a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys do have versatility. I mean, they do move a lot of these guys around. But at left guard, you got Liam Brown, had a lot of starting experience from last year. Cade Klimzak returning. So I think from that left side of the line position, I think you look pretty solid with Pamphilov, Brown, and Klimzak. Those are some of your staples on that offensive line. Certainly Klimzak having experience and starting last year. That's good. And I think if they're able to keep Liam Brown at left guard, keep Klimzak at center for the whole season, for training camp, for spring ball, I think if you keep that consistency, I think you could see some success. Now, with the right side of the line is where it gets interesting. You got Lucas Freitas at right guard, or I have down at right guard, and then you got Carter Bowen at right tackle. Now, I mean, for me, the offensive line is really a toss-up. I feel like you have a ton of guys that can play at the offensive line position. My struggle is when you look at the depth chart for Montana, because I do a lot of my research with this particular segment, looking at last year's roster depth charts. One, it's pretty difficult to find previous depth charts from last season, but also, with some of these guys who are on the online roster, which I'm looking at right now, a lot of them don't have a dedicated position. It's either OT, which is obviously tackle, or it's O-line. So I feel like that's a lot of places. But Freitas was in the lineup last year. Liam Brown was obviously a starter last year. Cade Klimzak was a starter last year. Carter Bowen, I believe, was a backup last year. And then you scroll up to the top. Dylan Botner, been here for a while. Bronson Hendrickson has also been here for a while. Austin Bueller was a backup last year, so hopefully he can move into a role this year. Everett Johnson was also a backup last year, but he's also a senior now. So obviously I think some of these guys could be moved around, and they could move them around positionally to maybe get some more veteran guys in position. So like, I could see them moving Everett Johnson to right guard and starting over Lucas Freitas. I mean, depending on how training camp goes, depending on how spring ball was, I could see that going either way. Carter Bowman, Austin Bueller at right tackle. I mean, I feel like it's a toss-up. So the three stables, Cannon Panfaloff, Liam Brown, Cade Klimzak are there, and I see all of them. I see that being the starting left tackle, left guard, center, Clay Klimzak, Liam Brown, Cannon Panfaloff. But then right guard and right tackle, Carter Bowen, Lucas Freitas, Austin Bueller, Everett Johnson. I could see it being a collection of any of those guys. But yeah, that's the offense. Kelly Ayat's going to be your starting quarterback, in my opinion. Eli Gilman's going to be your starting running back. Evan Schaefer, Josh Gale, Titus Rohr. I think those are the three guys you really move around at that tight end position. Brooks Davis, Michael Wortham, Cameron Guernsey, Drew Deck, Jordan Dever, LaKeldridge Bridges are your receivers. Starters, ICB and Dever, Wortham or Deck at the F position, and then Cameron Guernsey at your Z. And then the offensive line, Panfaloff, Brown, Klimzak, Freitas, Bowen are the guys I have as the starters. But with right guard, right tackle, Everett Johnson, Botner, Bueller, and Bowen, I think they all kind of, we'll see. With the defense, so obviously I have a little bit more knowledge of the offense, and the offense gets a lot of attention. But defense is really what's going to make the difference. And I'm going to start in the back end of the defense because I think I have a better handle on where I think, what I think that's going to look like. So at corner, you got Keon Loud. I can't remember. I believe, let me go find him. You got Keon Loud, who the reason I don't know if he's a freshman or a sophomore. Keon Loud, he's a sophomore, so he's a true sophomore. And I think this is already set to next year. So I think he's going into his sophomore season because I think he was a true freshman last year. He was a true freshman last year, so he's going to be a true sophomore this year. Keon Loud at corner. Prince Ford, who's a redshirt senior, at corner as well. You got Kenzel Lawler, Justin Breston as those backup corners, as well as Dazel Wilkinson. I really see Prince Ford, Keon Loud, Kenzel Lawler being those three. Justice Breston, Dazel Wilkinson, a couple of transfer guys. I mean, all these guys are, except for Keon Loud, all these guys are transfer guys. But Prince Ford and Keon Loud are really the guys I see. Kenzel Lawler having another year in this system under his belt, so I could see him getting in that rotation as well. Those are the three I see. Just being real with you, I don't think the corner or the safety position for Montana is very strong right now. I think it was a point of contention last year that they really struggled with, and just based on what I saw from the spring game, I see them still having some struggles this year. At safety, I got Micah Harper at free safety and Tarahidi Wolf at free safety as well, backing him up. At strong safety, I got TJ Roush and Cade Boyd. Now, I'm not 100% sure who plays the Grizz. I know the Grizz is basically another safety defensive back. So, Tyson Rostad was the Grizz. The one thing about Tyson Rostad being the Grizz last year is I actually wasn't able to find him on the roster. Under the safeties, he actually wasn't on the roster. So is he still on the team? Did he retire? I know his brother retired. Did he follow his brother's shoes and retire as well? I mean, I don't know because I don't see him on here. I'm looking at the roster right now. I'll share my screen. You look at the safeties here, and he's not on here. Tarahidi Wolf, Michael Harper, Dane Parker, Cash. Not going to try that. TJ Roush, Cade Boyd. Apologies for not.
Cash Gogachia, Kalispell, Montana.
Gogachia! Cash Gogachia! Okay, so Cash Gogachia, TJ Roush, Cade Boyd, Chase McGurran, Cade Cutler, Brady Beaner, Brock Beaner. Dang, I didn't know they had brothers. Are they twins? Man, the Grizz love twins. Where are they from? Washington. And that's it. So the Beaner brothers, Brady and Brock Beaner, Cade Cutler, Chase McGurran, Cade Boyd, TJ Roush. So, yeah, I don't see Tyson Rostad up here. And then if you go to defensive back, maybe he's in the DBs and maybe I just didn't see him. No, so I was almost certain that I checked him all. He's not on here. So either he retired, either he transferred. I don't know. He's not on the roster right now. But with that being said, I do see Tyson Rostad. If it's just a typo on the roster, Tyson Rostad is the guy at the Grizz position. If not, I see Cade Cutler or Cade Boyd. I don't know either. I don't know if you just throw a safety at Grizz. If obviously that's something that you've practiced so that you can know the fills, you can know the coverage, you can know all that, you can know the checks. But Cade Cutler or Cade Boyd be in that position. But I think your starters at the safety position, if you have Rostad, he's your starter. If not, Cade Cutler, Cade Boyd are going to be one of the starters at the Grizz. Micah Harper, TJ Roush. Those are your three safeties. Those are your two safeties I think that are solidified. Micah Harper, TJ Roush, maybe Tarahidi Wolf. I mean, I think any of those six, it's the same with the receiver position for me at safety. I think any of those 6 guys can really play any of the 3 safety positions. Micah Harper, Roush, Tyson Rostad, if he's there. I'm gonna stop saying Rostad because I don't see him on the roster, so we're gonna stop speaking about him. Micah Harper, TJ Roush, K Boyd, Tierra Wolf, and K Cutler. Those 5 guys I think are really gonna be the ones getting the reps at the safety position. There's nobody really I see missing. Maybe McGurran at the Grizz position. I think that's what he also plays. I wish they would designate that on here. But those are the guys at safety. Those are the guys I see at safety. Then you have your linebacker position. So with that rush linebacker position, Caleb Otlewski, obviously he dealt with the injury in the spring game. I'm almost certain I was told that it wasn't super serious or it wasn't like an ACL. If it was an ACL, obviously Otlewski's not going to be there. But then at your other linebacker positions, you got Caleb Moran and Elijah Tolbert. You got Geno Leonard and you got Hayden Opitz. Now, for some reason, every time I see, I'm just going to talk about this, Solomon Tuliaupupu. Let me actually find him on the roster. Was he at D-end or linebacker? I think he was at linebacker. Give me just a second. Let me find him and see if they'll sound it out for me. That's why they have it on here, right? They don't have it sounded out. Come on! It's Solomon Tuliaupupu. I see him being that a starting D-end on the D-line with the 3-3-5 system. I mean, so here's the thing with Solomon. They have him as a backer on the roster. So in my opinion, so with that, I would think he would be that Otlewski rush linebacker, but I think you would like to have both of them on the field. He on the roster, it says he's 6'3", 247. He could play that D-end position on the D-line. And I really see that see that being where they put him at the D-end position. And then at that other D-end position, I think you put Mata Afa. And then you got Jared Ramos. I think Jared Ramos, that's one position I think I got down is the nose guard position. Jared Ramos at that nose guard position. He played well in the spring game. He was the backup last year to Pat Hayden. I think he's been here long enough to be able to take over at that nose guard position. That is one of the most important positions on that defense. So, Jared Ramos at the nose, Solomon Tuliaupupu at D-end, Mata Afa at the other D-end. Your 3 linebackers, Geno Leonard. Now, I'm going to say this. I was watching Geno Leonard. I was watching back the Montana State, Montana game, and I was watching Geno Leonard on film, and, man, he looks good. I know he's dealt with some injuries, and I know he's been through it. He's a Missoula guy, Sentinel guy, wants to play for the Grizz, loves the Grizz. I mean, you watch him on film, he flies around, he seems to have the energy that you're looking for. He doesn't have a lot of mileage on his body, so Geno Leonard, I think, could be primed for a breakout season. Now, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Geno Leonard is in his senior year. He's a redshirt senior because Geno was still there when I was there as a freshman. So I think going with the trend of Coach Hauck wanting to put more veteran guys on the field if he can, I think you see Geno Leonard as one of your starting linebackers. I think you see Elijah Tolbert as another one of your starting linebackers. And then I think you see Otlewski, if he's healthy, at that rush linebacker position. Then you got Micah Harper, TJ Roush, Cade Cutler. I'm going to put him at that Grizz position. You got Prince Ford, Keon Lau being your starting corners. And yeah, Caleb Moran and Hayden Opitz are those other backers that will get reps. I got Sloan McPherson behind Mata Afa. And then at that other DM position, I got Jake Mason and Kellen Dietrich. Braden Bailey is that backup behind Jared Ramos. But Kellen Dietrich, I think, will get good reps. I mean, he's been here for a minute. He's played good ball. So I think Kellen Dietrich will see the field as well. But that's offense, defense for the Grizz. That's what I see the starting rosters being for the Grizz. Obviously, nothing's perfect. This is not a perfect size. I am not in the locker room. I am not talking to these coaches every day. So I don't know how 100% it's going to turn out. But I think you got to take a look back at the roster following the transfer portal, following spring ball, to give it a look, see what things are looking like, see what the roster's shaping up to be, see what type of talent you're working with on the team, because ultimately, I think this Montana team has been lacking talent for a few years. Not talent at all positions, but I think there's been some positions where you could say, is that necessarily the best talent you could get for that position? I don't think you can 100% say that. So with that being said, tell me what you guys think about my rosters. With the special teams, I got Ty Morrison as kicker, Ty Morrison as the punter, Michael Wortham. I have him as punt returner, but I don't think I think he can do it. I haven't seen him so much with the punt return. I've seen him with the kick return. Drew Deck, I think, will be the starting punt returner. And I think Michael Wortham is your starting kick returner. I don't know who the off back will be, but that doesn't matter. Michael Wortham, kick returner. Drew Deck, punt returner. But Michael Wortham, I have him as a punt returner as well. I don't know if he has that in his game. Not every kick returner, like Malik Flowers, was not a punt returner. He was a kick returner. But yeah, you guys let me know what you guys think about this. Please cook me if you think I missed somebody, if I'm missing some talent, if you guys think you see it a different way, let me know and I will move on. Okay, I want to look at my top 10 Big Sky players, offensive and defensive, going into the 2025 season. Now, obviously with this, the transfer portal is changing the landscape of college sports, so you got to expect that there's going to be some players leaving, and there were a ton of players, underclassmen and upperclassmen, that left their schools. So I'm trying to get it right, and hopefully all of these players are still at their schools. I just did a breakdown on Carson Conklin, and I had scheduled it. I did the breakdown like 2 weeks in advance, or like a week and a half in advance, and by the time the breakdown dropped, Carson Conklin had been gone. Just the way it works, man. It's just the way it works. So, first on this list, I got Adam Jones. I got Eli Gilman, the two best running backs in the conference. You had Scottrey Humphrey. He is gone. You had Deshaun Buchanan. He is gone. He wasn't one of the top. He was a younger guy, but Deshaun Buchanan is gone. And then you also had Weber State. Why am I blanking on Weber State's name? But they had a running back at Weber State. I can't exactly remember his name right now, but they're all at New Mexico now. So take that for what it's worth. Adam Jones, Eli Gilman, the two best running backs in the conference, and they are for sure top 10 players in this conference. Michael Wortham from Eastern Washington, a top 10 player in this conference for sure. Now, with Michael Wortham, I think he's one of the best talents in the conference. What positionally? I mean, they have him as a receiver at Montana. That's what he's down as on the roster, but I think you can do a lot with him. But he's one of the top 10 players offensively in the conference. Jared Taylor at Eastern Washington. You got Jared Taylor on here. You got Samuel Batu Jr. at UC Davis. Jared Taylor's at Eastern Washington. Samuel Batu Jr., he was one of the better receivers in the conference this past season. You got Ty Pennington from NAU, quarterback. I mean, you look at the quarterback position, all the top quarterbacks were veterans. Tommy Millott, Walter Payton Award winner, all conference, everything, was a senior. Miles Hastings was a senior. Kakoa Visperis transferred. Richie Munoz transferred. I mean, all the best quarterbacks in the conference are now gone, so you're going to be seeing a whole new Dante Sachere at Portland State. Not a great team, but he was a really good quarterback. Gone. I mean, you look at all the top teams in the conference. You look at all the top quarterbacks in the conference. They were either seniors and they left, or they were transfers. For the most part, they were seniors and they left. But with Kakoa Visperis, he did transfer. They're all gone. And then even you look at Idaho. Jack Lane, gone. They're bringing in a few quarterbacks this year, but gone. So next on my list, Kiai Keone from Northern Colorado. Another quarterback. Funny enough, I was interested to know that, like, I put a few Northern Colorado players on here, and I was surprised. And I didn't watch a ton of Northern Colorado football last year, so to see some of their players, I was watching some of the film on some of the players. They got a player, I would say, on the defensive side. Tuna Altair at Eastern Washington at the running back position. DeLon Thompson from Portland State at the running back position. And then you got Davion Godley at I almost said Washington State. Davion Godley at Weber State. So Adam Jones, Eli Gilman, Michael Wortham, Jared Taylor, Samuel Batu, Ty Pennington, Kiai Keone, Tuna Altair, DeLon Thompson, and Davion Godley. I mean, the Big Sky Conference is truly a running back conference. I think that's been seen in 2023, 2024, and I think you're going to see that going forward. Adam Jones, Eli Gilman, running back. Tuna Altair, a running back. DeLon Thompson, a running back. Davion Godley, a running back. Now, obviously, this is my choosing. These are my players that I chose, and this obviously isn't offensive lineman or anything like that, so we're not putting them on there. I didn't see any tight ends really worthy of going on here. I really wanted to put a tight end on here. I was trying to think if there was one I could justify. I wanted to put Brzee White, but he obviously was a senior. But anyway, you guys let me know what you think about the offensive, defensive players. I feel like defense was difficult to an extent, but not too difficult. Got a lot of linebackers on here. Rex Connors at UC Davis, safety, All-American. Obviously got to have him on here. Peyton Wing, all-conference linebacker, going from Portland State to Montana. Got to have him on there. Derek Ganter Jr., a safety at Eastern Washington. He was one of the best tacklers in the conference. If you got a safety who's got a lot of tackles, that's either he's playing in the box and that's a really good thing, or that's not a really good thing. So take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, Eastern Washington had terrible defense last year, but Derek Ganter Jr., he's on there. DJ Van Hook at NAU, I have him on here. I put a list together. I put these lists together a lot of times. The cornerback from NAU with DJ Van Hook, he had 3 interceptions last year and 6 passes defensed, 6 pass breakups. So at NAU's got some players. They had like 3 or 4 players that made this list, but DJ Van Hook, defensive back at NAU. Then you have Kenneth Iden at Montana State. I think Kenneth Iden the 4th, actually, at Montana State. I think he's the next edge rusher at Montana State to really make a name for himself. He really popped onto the scene for me last year. Obviously, you had Brody Grebe and you had all the players that they have over there, but Kenneth Iden was somebody who caught my eye multiple times last season. Obviously, you're watching a ton of Montana State football, but Kenneth Iden, DeJean Wells, Eastern Washington, another defensive back. You got Nathan Reynolds at Idaho State, linebacker. Lot of tackles last year. Obviously, Idaho State is another team where, offensively, I think they can get some things done a lot of times, but their defense, I think, is where it fails them. I feel like it's really hard to recruit at Idaho State, but you got Nathan Reynolds at Idaho State. You got Porter Connors from UC Davis, the linebacker, brother of Rex Connors. 2 really, really good players at UC Davis there. So, obviously, they're on there. UC Davis was one of the better teams in the conference, one of the best teams in the country last year. You got Cam Chappa from Northern Colorado, and this guy made me a fan. Obviously, Northern Colorado's not been great the last few years. Not been great ever, really. I don't even want to say the last few years, but they have players who can pop at times. Cam Chappa, I'm surprised. He was a freshman All-American last year. I didn't see any information that he transferred. Now, if somebody else knows that he has already gone and has transferred, please let me know. But if he is still in the Big Sky Conference, he's certainly one of the better players in the Big Sky Conference. Freshman All-American at the safety position. Tied for the conference lead in interceptions at 4. He was tied with Jace Kluswich from the University of Montana. So he's a player. And then you got Paul Brott, the new legacy player at Montana State. He is my 10th player. But for defense, I got Rex Connors at UC Davis, Peyton Wing at Montana from Portland State, Derek Ganter Jr., Eastern Washington, DJ Van Hook, NAU, Kenneth Iden, Montana State, DeJean Wells at Eastern Washington, Nathan Reynolds at Idaho State, Porter Connors at UC Davis, Cam Chappa at Northern Colorado, and Paul Brott at MSU. You guys let me know what you guys think about my top 10 from offense and defensive players returning into the Big Sky Conference. You guys let me know if I missed somebody. Please cook me if I did. Let me know if some of these guys have transferred. I tried to be as extensive as I possibly could to see, Instagrams, searching social media, searching online sources, searching the rosters. You guys let me know down below, and I will move on. Okay. Obviously, the draft just passed. We did a lot of talk about some of those draft picks last week. I want to talk about Sam Herder does a great job of reporting on the numbers of guys who get drafted, guys who sign minicamp invites, guys who sign tryouts, all of that good stuff. FCS conferences is the most NFL rookies drafted, UDFA minicamp and invites. And also FCS teams with the most NFL rookies drafted, UDFA minicamp invites. So first we're going to go through the FCS conferences with the most rookies drafted, signed UDFA contracts, or got minicamp invites. At number 1, you have the CAA with 14 teams in the 2025 season. I believe they're going to have 14 teams in the conference. I believe they had 16 this past season. And with 16 teams, it's no surprise that you get 33 guys that signed UDFA minicamp invites or were drafted. Now, one thing I will say about that, and one thing that really stands out to me, is that you get the most guys who get NFL attention, yet you can't find success in the playoffs. The CAA has not been great the last few years. They didn't look good this past season, and for them to get 33 guys to get an NFL opportunity, whether it be UDFA drafted or minicamp invites, and to not really be very successful in the playoffs, I don't know. Next, you have the MVFC at 21. After that, you have the Big Sky at 19. After that, you have the UAC at 12. They had some really good running backs in the UAC. I didn't see Tari Lampson. Is he a young guy or is he entering the draft? I think Tari Lampson was entering the draft. I didn't see his name anywhere. SoCon at 10. You got the Ivy League at 9. You got the MEAC at 9. Southland at 8. The SWAC at 8. The Big South OVC at 7. The Patriot League at 6. The NEC at 3. The Independence at 2, and then the Pioneer at 1. So obviously the 3 top conferences, CAA, MVFC, Big Sky, are going to get the most. They play the most high-level football at the FCS. Those are the conferences where I could see. I don't want to downplay any of these conferences. Obviously, some are better than others. I would say the Big Sky and MVC are at the top. The CAA is up there with talent, but with their performance on the field, they haven't really been the best conference ever since James Madison left, and they've lost a few other teams. Delaware is leaving. But Richmond is leaving. They've been losing some teams, but the MVFC Big Sky getting 21 and 19 respectfully, and then the CAA getting 33. Yeah, I mean, that's exciting. I'm trying to think if I can. The NEC getting 3 doesn't surprise me, but the fact that the NEC has more than the Pioneer League does surprise me. I think the NEC is the weakest conference in the FCS, so for them to get 3 guys, it's exciting. The HBCU conferences, then SWAC and the MEAC getting 9 and 8. The SWAC getting 8 and 9 for the MEAC is interesting. The HBCU a lot of times has a lot of really, really good players. If I try to think about where the draft picks are coming out of, obviously you got Gray's Able fitting in that 21 number from the MVFC. You got 2 draft picks out of the Big Sky with Tommy Malott and Junior Bergen. With the MVFC going back up, you got Cam Miller, so that's 2 out of that conference. There was 15 players drafted this year, so obviously they're spread out throughout the conferences. But then if we go down to the FCS teams with the most NFL rookies drafted UDFA minicamp invites, you have Montana State with 6. No surprise there. NDSU with 5. No surprise there. Villanova. Funny enough, man, not even funny. Villanova is a good team in the CAA. They're one of the teams trying to hold down the CAA. But with that, they also get a lot of guys who get NFL opportunities. I think they're a well-respected team within NFL circles. I think people understand what type of coaching they're getting there, what type of player you're getting out of Villanova. Actually, Christian Benford, who played at Villanova, just signed his second contract this offseason, so that is just proof. I mean, Isis Waxter was another good player coming out of Villanova this year. I'm sure Christian Benford being good for the Bills and signing another contract for the Bills is one of the reasons why they're like, okay, if Christian Benford came out of this school, let's go check out some more players from this school. And I've known a few other, you got Changa Hodge, who I think is still playing in the CFL, but was a good player out of Villanova as well, and there's some more out of there as well. There's a player or two that I played with in the UFL also. William and Mary had 5. Exciting there. Central Arkansas with 4. Delaware with 4. Jackson State with 4. NC Central. North Carolina Central with 4. New Hampshire with 4. South Dakota with 4. Tarleton State with 4. And UC Davis with 4. Now, one thing that strikes me is you can get players who get NFL opportunities, but that still always doesn't translate to wins on the field. Now, obviously, the 2 top teams on this do these things have to work together, because the 2 top teams on here, Montana State with 6, NDSU with 5, both played in the national championship. I think they kind of, if you're in the national championship, you have good players. But also, if you're playing in the national championship, that means as a scout, as an NFL team, we want to look at your players even more because we know you're winning. So I think they kind of go hand in hand, because what I was going to say is, like, obviously the 2 teams that played in the national championship are going to be at the top. But obviously, I don't think it's super obvious. I mean, obviously they have good players. That's why they're in the national championship. But I don't think you can just assume that because they're in the national championship, that means they're flooded with NFL talent. I think part of it is because they have good NFL potential talent on their team, but I think also another piece of it is that they're getting more eyes because you played in the national championship, because you played high-level football at that level towards late in the season. NFL teams are going to look at your players and are going to give them another opportunity because they know they have the ability to play winning football. Central Arkansas on there with 4. Obviously, David Walker being one of those. Delaware, you got Marcus Yarns. I don't think Marcus Yarns got drafted. He went as a UDFA. But quite a few HBCUs on here. North Carolina Central. Not New Hampshire. I guess it's just North Carolina. Oh, Jackson State is another one I was looking at. But, yeah, you guys let me know what you guys think about this. Do you guys think The CAA being on there is a little surprise for me with 33. Seems that they have a lot of good NFL talent in the CAA. It just doesn't seem like it always translates to success late in the playoffs or even during the regular season. And same can be said about the Big Sky. So I'm not trying to be biased or anything like that. The Big Sky isn't always the most successful playoff team either. Playoff teams, the Big Sky doesn't always have the most successful playoff teams. But you guys let me know what you guys think about those numbers. And I will move on. Okay, I feel like a lot of times NIL and the transfer portal is getting a bad rap, and obviously I'm somebody who is always talking about NIL and the transfer portal because I feel like you can't get around it, but I feel like there are some positives that can be peeled from the NIL and transfer portal, and it comes from an example with the NBA draft, but I think it also translates to every level of football, every level of sport in college. Only 106 players entered the 2025 NBA draft per the NBA. This is all per Draft Express. That's the lowest number of early entrants since 2015, down from a peak of 363 in 2021. That was not 2021, that was my senior year in college. 2021, just before the NCAA's NIL era officially started. So right before NIL started in 2021, that was the highest number of people who entered the NFL draft, or the NBA draft, early. Only 100 players entered the 2025. No, so not even. Oh, well, they're kind of speaking both. Only 106 players entered the 2025 NBA draft per the NBA. That's the lowest number of early entrants. So are you talking about people who entered the draft, or are you talking about early entrants? If there's only 106 early entrants, sure. But if there's either way, the numbers are down, meaning players, incredible boom for college basketball to retain so much talent per Draft Express. This is the real NIL story. This is by Myron Metcalf, who quoted that post by Draft Express and said this. This is the real NIL story. Guys knowing they don't have to turn pro to make money. Top earners in college basketball making money comparable to late first-round picks. Players getting more time to develop. This is a great thing for everyone. Players, teams, schools, coaches in the NBA. This matters. I think I echo exactly what Myron Metcalf said. This is amazing for college sports. This is amazing for the college game. Now, obviously, you talk about some of the bad things about NIL. Players chasing money. Agents getting the best of players. Tampering. I mean, players transferring probably when they shouldn't have transferred. Players needing to stay at the right. I mean, there's so many things that you can say as negatives as to what the transfer portal is bringing negatively to college sports. But there are some positives. For a long time, back in the 80s, 90s, and even before, it was commonplace for players to stay for 4 years. I think maybe a player left for their, like, at least in the football standpoint. Players have always stayed for 3 to 4 years in football. But for basketball, I mean, I think maybe back in the day in the 80s and 90s, like Michael Jordan left as a junior, and that was still seen as like a reach, like, oh, he's leaving as a junior. Obviously, he was Michael Jordan. But I think, like, for the most parts, there weren't any one and dones in college. There weren't any guys going out of high school. There weren't like it was commonplace for guys to really stay a long time in college. And I think that kind of changed a little bit. Over the years, that's changed a little bit. Players, obviously in basketball, the one and done thing is huge. If you they want you young and raw. They want you young and ready to learn. They want you young and impressionable as a young player in the NBA. The younger, the more athletic, the more success you've shown at a young age, that's when they want you to enter. So like, they want you young, get you in the NFL, in an NBA system young. Now with the NFL, I think it's just changed. Well, obviously, COVID has changed some things where players had extra years, but also with the NFL, I think one thing that makes it a little different and a little interesting is that, you know, you already have to stay in college for 3 years. So I think what we're seeing now is we're seeing more fifth-year seniors, more true seniors, more guys who have stayed 4 years, because a lot of times you get quite a few juniors and players who maybe even a redshirt sophomore sometimes who's leaving early, wants to take his talents to the NFL. But I think now more, I mean, players are really making sure that leaving and going to the NFL is the best decision for them. And I think that's at every level of sport. I think now that the money is involved and now that players are able to earn money and earn good time money, especially at the Power 5 level, I think now it changes the conversation. It's like, opposed to leaving to go to the NFL or go to the NBA to where I need to make money now. I need to be able to provide for my family. I need to be able to take my life to the next level. Now it becomes a conversation of like, first off, what does the money look like? Second off, does it make sense for me? Like, am I going to get picked? Am I going to be UDFA? Like, I think you fully take in all of the factors with going to the pros now. I don't think it's just an easy decision you make. I think you really consider all the factors along with the money you're making in college, along with what it's going to look like for another year of college. I mean, all of that. I think it's just a good development for sports. So I didn't have too much on this, but I think the numbers are telling you that players are staying in, at least for basketball, players are staying in college longer. I would love to see the numbers for football and what they shake out to be. But I think overall you can say that players are staying in college longer. And I think some players could even benefit from staying a little longer. Think about Quinn Ewers this year. He went behind Tommy Millott and Cam Miller. He got drafted after those guys. And he was a 5-star. Transferred from Ohio State, was at Texas, was getting a boatload of money, had the potential to make, I think, $6 to $8 million was what he was rumored. Reports were saying he could make in the free agency market in college, in the transfer portal market with the NIL. I mean, he turned that down, went to the draft, and it honestly probably wasn't the best decision. He probably should have stayed. Now, obviously, I preach against chasing the money, but in his position, you have a potential to make a huge amount of money, and you may not be ready for the NFL. NFL scouts are telling you may not be ready. Your coaches are probably telling you may be able to benefit from another year. I think that is a perfect example of players who, chasing the NFL, chasing the money. He's not necessarily chasing the money because he's probably making more at Texas than he's going to make this next year. So, I don't know. Just a rough situation there. Just a rough situation there. But you guys let me know what you guys think about players staying in college longer. Let me know in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, I got some FCS news here. The Southern Utah Athletics Department, run by former Nevada Athletic Director Doug Knuth, is under investigation for potential Title IX violations in multiple sports, per Action Network's Brett McMurphy. Now, Southern Utah, former Big Sky team, now playing in the UAC, but they're in the WAC for most sports. Their football team is in the UAC, but all their other sports play in the WAC. This is according to Nevada Sports Network and Chris Murray, the reporter, the journalist on this article I'm reading, on this little excerpt I'm going to read. According to the report, Knuth was the subject of 4 Title IX investigations that looked into inequities in facilities, recruiting, meals, travel, equipment, publicity, and access to medical treatment. Alleged disparaging comments about pregnant women. Those claims, in parentheses, those claims were not supported after an investigation by a Las Vegas law firm, in quotes. And allegations of an inappropriate relationship with Nevada's assistant cheerleading coach. 2 investigations did not find Knuth had violated school rules. Wolfpack staffers also alleged Knuth hired a disproportionate amount of men for major roles and paid them more than equally qualified women. It's toxic, McMurphy quoted an unnamed source saying, absolutely toxic. Someone close to the situation speaking about the feelings of the SSU athletic department. So basically, it seems that Knuth might be perpetrating some of the same Title IX violations that he was accused of committing at Nevada. It seems that the way he was running the Nevada athletic department was not very fruitful, wasn't very savory. Seems that they had a host of allegations against him. It seems that people claimed it was a toxic work environment. This seems very similar to the situation at the situation at Stanford with gosh, why am I going blank on the guy's name? I want to say Troy Hill. Is that correct? Troy Taylor. I'm so sorry. It seems that this is similar to the situation that was happening at Stanford with Troy Taylor, but it seems a little different. It seems with Troy Taylor's situation at Stanford, it was more so all about kind of the toxic work environment, the way he treats the women, the way he's treating people in the athletic department, the way he kind of sees himself. It seems like that is what was going on at Stanford, and it seems like there was multiple investigations and accusations that had came out, and there was multiple times for him to fix his behavior, and he didn't. Now at Southern Utah, it seems kind of along that same vein, but he hasn't been disciplined at Nevada. He was disciplined at Southern Utah, and ultimately, I don't know if he was disciplined for the investigation, but he was ultimately let go. He was let go because of the investigations at Nevada, and ultimately took the job at Southern Utah that same year. He had a year left on his contract with Nevada, and they let him go because of the investigations into some of his conduct, the Title IX violations. Title IX is serious, equities in sports is very serious. If you don't know about Title IX, it's basically if you give $1 to a football program, you also have to give $1 to a women's sports program. If you give $1 to boys basketball, that same dollar has to be allotted for women's basketball. I'm kind of paraphrasing it a lot, but it's equity. You can't give uneven amount of resources to women's sports as you do to men's sports, and vice versa. You can't give an uneven amount of resources to men's sports as you do with women's sports. It's usually the latter. Men's sports are getting treated one way, women's sports are not getting treated the other way. But that's the same thing with scholarships. They have to be equal. Resources have to be equal. Facilities, I think, also have to be equal. All of that good stuff. So, yeah, that's what they're faced with now at Southern Utah. I don't think there's been any punishment that has been faced right now, but it seems that he's going through similar things that he dealt with at Nevada, and it seems like, people don't change, locations change, but it seems like he's doing the exact same thing. And that's my question is like, so if you got in trouble for this at Southern or at Nevada, what are you doing at Southern Utah to prove that things are going to be different? Also, I will say at Nevada, they let him go. Then all of a sudden for the last 3 years, they've talked about facilities have been upgraded, resources have been upgraded. Teams are getting the resources that they deserve, and it seems like they're putting more money towards a lot of the other activities. I would wonder, I have to look a little bit more into the investigation at Nevada. But seems that they got a lot of the same things going on, or at Southern Utah. Seems like they got a lot of the same things going on at Southern Utah, and Mr. Knuth needs to get it together. You guys let me know what you guys think about this Southern Utah situation. What do you guys think about Doug Knuth? What do you guys think about the investigation into multiple sports? You guys let me know down below, and I will move on. Okay, I want to thank you guys for tapping into yet another Akem'S analysis. I know it was a little choppy today. Computer seems to be running a little slow sometimes when I'm trying to switch screens. So I want to thank you guys for hanging in there with me. Please make sure you guys hit the subscribe button. Please make sure you guys hit the like button. Please make sure you guys leave me a comment down below. If there's anything you guys want me to talk about, please let me know down below. I haven't done fan questions or a mailbag type thing in a long time, but I need to bring it back to ask you guys some questions, to ask me. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about. But if you guys have anything you guys want me to talk about, leave it in the comments down below, and I will catch you guys next time. See you later.